Welcome back to Doodling with Purpose, the internet's only week-by-week guide to learning ancient hieroglyphics and apparently laughing at hieroglyphic and ancient Egyptian cartoons, which I keep finding week on week. All right, well, this is going to be an interesting lesson today because it's kind of going to reinforce the fact that you know a lot more hieroglyphics than you think you do. I know that we're just going into vocabulary, and if you've been through the first 100 lessons, you've learned all of the major sound glyphs and sentence structure. But today, I want to sort of do a reminder about how hieroglyphics, so much they use clues to help you understand vocabulary so that you don't have to memorize every single word. Now, we've been through the first sort of half, or I guess maybe the first third of the alphabet as far as sound elements and the actual way letters are pronounced. And, H can be pronounced 4 different ways in hieroglyphics. Some of the letters we're going to do today, like M, are just M. And M is actually one of the most popular glyphs. It's the owl. And I think it's popular because not only it's used in a lot of words, but it's the only animal that is looking forward, straight at you. I mean, this thing shows up everywhere, even, on people. What can I say? It's an owl. It's popular. Maybe it's Harry Potter. Who knows? So the owl's pretty simple to draw once you've mastered the basic bird. So you're going to start with your little sort of half house there, and then do a curved line down, which is the front half of the owl. Then you'll do a curved line in the back and then loop up with a straight line for the top of the wing. You'll also do a straight line at the bottom. It's kind of like a Z there that makes the tail feather and the bottom. Then you'll do the other leg and give him something to stand on. Well, we'll also have to do, of course, the facial feature, which is probably also why the owl is so popular, because he's got that beak and he's got those eyes that look straight at you. So this is done in 3 different strokes. You do a little V, and then you give the V a dash on either side. And this is what makes the owl's adorable little face. And honestly, it's one of those details that's really worth paying attention and listening to because, well, it really does make a big difference, and it's why this glyph is so popular. So so you have basically a V there, and then we're going to finish it with 2 more strokes, one on either side. And again, you're making each of these by picking up your writing instrument and placing it down again. So you're not doing it in one motion, doing the lines, the V, and then the other line. You're making them each separately with the V first. Otherwise, it's going to come out incorrect, and it's going to wind up looking sloppy. So make sure you pick up your pen. All right, so here's our word for today, or at least for this letter. And taking a look at this and noting the end, you probably see that there's an image of a person. And anytime we see a person or an animal as the last glyph, it's a determinative. So the first letters, we've just learned our M, and we've talked about T, even though we haven't gotten to that in the second half of the class, but T is the loaf or the hill, pretty straightforward to draw. So this is pronounced mt, and it's the word death. And when I talked about clues earlier, again, looking at that glyph, you can see it's a person with an axe chopping into their head. I suppose it could be maybe suicide, but it's the word death. All right, let's do this again. Let's look at the word N, also another letter and another sound that is just straightforward, just like English, N. And it's also one of the most popular glyphs, or at least one that shows up a ton in art, probably because it's so easy to draw. It's a wavy line, up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down. There's actually no specific rule about how many up and downs. I tend to do 5 peaks when I draw it. I tell people it's basically like doing the top of Bart Simpson's head. And this winds up being a detail that shows up in a lot of the different plant glyphs, like the lotus and the papyrus. So it's a detail, the up, down, up, down. Now, here's a word. So we have N, the water sign, and B, the foot. And then that's followed by 3 water signs and another person. Now, the 3 water signs is a determinative. It is a letter. It is the letter M, MS, that we'll learn later on. But, I'm sorry, MW. MS is the foxtail. But in this case, it is a determinative, and how you do know it's a determinative and not a letter? Well, it's a 2-syllable sound, and it's the end of a word. Plus, if you combine that with the second determinative of a man, looks like maybe is he Superman? Is he flying? Well, if you look at what he's running into, the letter MW at the end as a determinative is just 3 water signs. It's a repetition of N 3 times, and N is water or waves or energy even. And so this man that is coming towards the water, well, what do you think this word is based on the clues of the determinative? We have a man with an outstretched hand heading towards three water signs. Well, it isn't too tricky to figure out that this is the word for to swim. It's the verb. And again, you didn't know what this word was, but just looking at it and knowing what the determinatives are between the three water signs and the man flying towards them, which is actually stroking through water. All right, let's look at two more letters today and the same thing, how determinatives can help uncover the meaning of words. P is a box. Well, it's technically a mat, a reed mat. And it's done with various details sometimes inside. But yeah, it's basically a rectangle. And again, this should be done with 4 different strokes where you're picking up your pen for each different one. All right, so here's your word. We have the P, we have the D, and we have the H sound. So, P-H-D. So, oops, actually, it's not 1, 3, 2. Let me redo that. It should be 1, 2, 3. All right, there we go. Fixed it. See, even I make mistakes. All right, so there's our determinative of a upside down man. All right, so what do we think the word that is P-H-D, P-H-D, what could that possibly mean if the determinative is a person upside down? Well, it's not man standing on head. It's just man upside down. It's just upside down. Again, and this is not exactly a common determinative. So if you see this, it's pretty much only used with this word. All right, last one. So we won't do a person this time. Instead, now we're going to end with an animal. All right, R, a easy letter to do. It's the mouth. So it's a curved line up and a curved line down. Again, picking up your pen between strokes in order to do it. Now, the mouth can also mean to speak, and it's used a lot as an ideogram, but in this case, it's pure sound. So we've got R followed by, we just did this one, M for the owl, and that's followed by a fish. Now, again, we know the fish is a determinative in this case because there's a stroke line under it. But if there wasn't a stroke line, would we think that the fish was just the letter IN, in, which, will, if you've been to the first half of the class, you know it's also the letter IN, in. Well, we know it's a determinative because of the stroke mark, but also an animal at the end of a word, especially a double consonant animal, that means it's a determinative. And that was the word fish. All right. Next week, we're going to head into sentence structure, which is going to be great because it'll be a review of some of the stuff we've done, and we'll kind of tie up some loose ends before continuing vocabulary. If you like this course, if you like these videos, do like it, subscribe, share it with friends. It's a great way to tell YouTube to continue to share it because free, fun learning information online is awesome. Hey, look, I see some water signs there. Maybe there's even an owl. I'll have to keep looking. All right, thanks for watching. I'll see you guys next week. Thanks for being in class.